pounds of fun. That's my little honey bun. Get a load of honey bun tonight.
Mitzi Gaynor stole the show with Honey Bun in the 1958 film South Pacific. All these years later, she's still a crowd pleaser.
The South Pacific set was chaos. Mitzi Gaynor had to dance on burning hot sand, deal with toxic shampoo, and dodge an actual tsunami. But that's not even the wildest part. At 92, she's finally telling the truth about the backstage drama nobody knew about, including why Elizabeth Taylor had a total breakdown, and the real reason the movie almost never happened. Today, she's revealing everything they tried to hide. Mitzi Gaynor was born in Chicago on September 4th, 1931. Her real name was Francesca Marlene de Czányi von Gerber, a name as grand as her Hungarian heritage. Her father was a musician, her mother a dancer. With parents like that, it was no surprise she was drawn to the stage. She was an only child, growing up in a home filled with music, rhythm, and ambition. During the Great Depression, her family moved from place to place, first to Elgin, Illinois, then to Detroit, and finally to Los Angeles when she was 11. That last move changed everything. L.A. wasn't just another city. It was the heart of the entertainment industry. If you wanted to make it big, this was where you had to be. Her birth name, though rich in history, wasn't quite fit for Hollywood. When she started getting noticed, 20th Century Fox suggested she change it. Francesca Marlene de Czányi von Gerber was too long, too complicated. They wanted something catchy, something easy to remember. And so, she became Mitzi Gaynor. Even before Hollywood came calling, she was already making waves. At 11, she started ballet training. Not as a hobby, not as something to do after school. She was serious about it. By 13, she was already stepping onto professional stages. She wanted a role in the Los Angeles Civic Light Opera Company so badly that she lied about her age, claiming to be 16. It worked. She landed a part in Song Without Words, proving she wasn't just talented, she was determined. That was only the beginning. Soon, she was performing in Roberta, The Fortune Teller, and Naughty Marietta. These weren't just performances. They were lessons. She learned how to hold an audience's attention, how to move with confidence, how to blend singing and dancing effortlessly. Every show made her stronger, sharper, and more ready for what was ahead. Her first time on stage, though, wasn't quite as graceful. She was 7 years old, performing at a dance recital. Everything had been rehearsed, every step memorized. But there was one thing she forgot: to use the bathroom before going on stage. Halfway through her routine, under the bright lights, disaster struck. Right there, in front of the whole audience, she had an accident. Most kids would have run off and never looked back. Mitzi ran off too, but she didn't stay backstage for long. She wiped her tears, put on some lipstick, because even at 7, she knew a little bit of confidence could go a long way, and asked if she could go back on. The audience cheered, not just for her performance, but for her bravery. That night, she learned something important. Mistakes don't matter as much as how you handle them. At 9 years old, she sat in a theater and watched Carmen Miranda perform. The music, the colors, the energy, everything about it was larger than life. Mitzi sat there, completely mesmerized. She didn't just want to be in the audience. She wanted to be the one on stage, the one people couldn't take their eyes off of. That night, something inside her clicked. She wasn't just going to dance or sing. She was going to be a star. By the time Mitzi Gaynor was 13, she was already performing with the Los Angeles Civic Light Opera Company. Her role in Naughty Marietta caught the eye of a 20th Century Fox talent scout. leading to an audition that changed her life. At just 17, she signed a 7-year contract, stepping into the world of Hollywood's golden age. The studio loved her energy, her dancing, and the way she lit up a room. But they felt her name, Francesca Gerber, didn't have the sparkle of a true Hollywood star. They wanted something catchy, something audiences would remember. Mitzi was already a nickname she used, and Gaynor had a familiar ring to it, bringing to mind silent film star Janet Gaynor. It was a name that felt glamorous, yet approachable. With that, Mitzi Gaynor was born, and soon her name was appearing on theater marquees across the country. Her first film role came in My Blue Heaven, 1950, a musical starring Betty Grable and Dan Daly. She played a dancer, a small part, but the moment she stepped onto the screen, she stood out. Singing Live Hard, Work Hard, Love Hard, she brought a confidence that made people take notice. She wasn't just another performer in the background. She had something special. Fox saw it too. By the time she was 19, she had already moved from supporting roles to leading parts, a rare feat in a business filled with larger-than-life stars. She was stepping into the spotlight just as Hollywood's musical era was reaching its final golden years. Her first big starring role came in Golden Girl, 1951. She played Lotta Crabtree, a real-life performer from the Gold Rush era. The film had it all: comedy, drama, and elaborate musical numbers. It even featured the song Never, which was nominated for an Academy Award. Critics praised Mitzi's energy, and audiences loved her. She had charm, presence, and a spark that made her impossible to ignore. With that success, Fox pushed her into more starring roles. In Bloodhounds of Broadway, 1952, she played Emily Ann Stackerly, a character full of humor and heart. The film gave her the chance to show off her comedic skills while delivering memorable musical numbers like Buy Low. Then came The I Don't Care Girl, 1953, where she took on the role of Ava Tangay, a vaudeville star known for her wild performances. It was a bold role, and Mitzi gave it everything she had. The film was a hit, pulling in $1.25 million at the box office, more than $13 million in today's money. Mitsy Gainer had something special. She wasn't just talented. She had a kind of energy that made her unforgettable. Whether she was dancing across the screen or sharing a scene with Hollywood's biggest stars, she had a presence that couldn't be ignored. In There's No Business Like Show Business, 1954, she was surrounded by legends: Marilyn Monroe, Ethel Merman, Donald O'Connor. The film was Fox's first musical shot in CinemaScope and deluxe color, a visual spectacle packed with dazzling performances. Gaynor played Katie Donahue, part of a vaudeville family, and from the moment she appeared, she lit up the screen. One of her most memorable performances was A Sailor's Not a Sailor, Till a Sailor's Been Tattooed, with Ethel Merman. It was fun, high energy, and full of personality. Gaynor had a way of making everything feel effortless. Critics often compared her to Monroe, who had a sultry charm that pulled focus in numbers like Heat Wave. But Gaynor had something different. Her energy was bright, warm, and engaging. She didn't just dance. She told a story with every movement. Behind the scenes, the film wasn't without its challenges. Monroe was known for being late to set, frustrating the cast and crew. But despite the delays, Gaynor later admitted Monroe worked hard to perfect every scene. The film was a commercial success, bringing in $5 million at the box office. More importantly, it proved that Gaynor could hold her own alongside Hollywood's biggest names. Leaving 20th Century Fox was a bold move, but it opened new doors. In 1957, She starred in 2 major films at Paramount Pictures, each one showing a different side of her talent. In The Joker is Wild, she played Martha Stewart, the love interest of Frank Sinatra's character, Joe E. Lewis. The film told the true story of a nightclub singer-turned-comedian whose life was filled with heartbreak. Sinatra gave one of his most emotional performances, and Gaynor brought warmth to their scenes together. Their chemistry felt real, making the film's most heartfelt moments even stronger. The soundtrack included the Oscar-winning song All the Way, adding to the film's lasting impact. That same year, she took on a lighter role in Les Girls, Gene Kelly's final MGM musical. The story followed 3 dancers, each telling their version of past events in a legal dispute. Gaynor played Joy Henderson, a role that allowed her to mix comedy and dance with Kelly himself. One of their standout moments was a playful biker-themed number, an unexpected scene that showed her ability to keep up with Kelly's sharp timing and choreography. Hollywood in the 1950s was a place where competition for big roles was intense, but few casting battles were as fierce as the search for the perfect Nellie Forbush in the film adaptation of South Pacific. On Broadway, Mary Martin had made the role unforgettable. She won a Tony Award for her performance and set a standard that seemed impossible to match. But by the time Hollywood was ready to bring the musical to the big screen, Martin was in her 40s. The studio felt she was too old to play a young Navy nurse, so the search for a new Nellie began. Some of the biggest stars of the era wanted the role. Elizabeth Taylor was one of them. She had the beauty and screen presence, but there was one problem. She wasn't a singer or a dancer. That didn't stop her from auditioning, but nerves got the best of her. Richard Rodgers, the legendary composer of South Pacific, wasn't impressed. He rejected her immediately. Doris Day was another contender. Her singing talent was undeniable, but the producers felt she didn't have the spontaneous energy needed to play Nellie. With 2 of Hollywood's biggest names out of the running, an unexpected contender stepped into the spotlight: Mitzi Gaynor. Gaynor wasn't an unknown actress. She had already starred in musicals like Anything Goes and Les Girls, but she wasn't as famous as Taylor or Day. What set her apart was her ability to sing, dance, and act. Unlike many stars of the time, she didn't need a voice double. More importantly, she was willing to prove herself. While other actresses hesitated or backed out, Gaynor agreed to screen test, not just once, but twice. Her first audition took place at the Beverly Hills Hotel Ballroom in front of Oscar Hammerstein II himself. She performed Honey Bun and A Cockeyed Optimist with charm and confidence, capturing exactly what made Nellie such a lovable character. Her second test included I'm in Love with a Wonderful Guy, showing she had the vocal power and emotional depth the role required. Her willingness to audition gave her an advantage. Elizabeth Taylor's stage fright had cost her the role. Doris Day had passed on the opportunity completely. Gaynor, on the other hand, treated each audition as a chance to prove she was the right choice. The producers saw her dedication and cast her as Nellie. But even after she won the role, one person still wasn't convinced: Richard Rodgers. He had strict standards when it came to casting his musicals. He knew Gaynor was a strong dancer and actress, but he wasn't sure her voice was good enough. That doubt didn't last long. As soon as rehearsals began, Gaynor proved him wrong. She spent hours perfecting her songs, working closely with director Joshua Logan to bring Nellie's personality to life. When she performed I'm Gonna Wash That Man Right Out of My Hair, Rodgers finally saw what the others had seen all along. She wasn't just playing the part, she was Nellie Forbush. Filming in Kauai, Hawaii, was tough, but Gaynor was completely committed. Unlike many stars of the era, she insisted on singing all her own songs, which was rare for Hollywood musicals at the time. Her chemistry with Rossano Brazzi, who played Emile Debec, only grew stronger as filming went on. Their romance felt natural on screen because it was built on real effort behind the scenes. Taking over a role that Mary Martin had made legendary was no small task. Many believed no one could live up to her Broadway performance. But instead of trying to imitate Martin, Gaynor made the role her own. She brought a fresh energy to Nellie, playful, warm, and full of life. When South Pacific hit theaters in 1958, audiences loved her. The film became one of the biggest hits of the year, and Gaynor's performance won widespread praise. Even Richard Rodgers, who had doubted her at first, admitted that casting Gaynor was the right decision. Filming South Pacific on Kauai in 1957 was supposed to be a dream. The island had lush mountains, golden beaches, and the perfect tropical backdrop. But the production quickly turned into a logistical nightmare. The weather was unpredictable. One minute the sky was clear, the next a sudden rainstorm rolled in, forcing the crew to stop filming. Kauai is one of the wettest places on Earth, and that created a serious problem for continuity. The lighting in some scenes shifts noticeably because the weather kept changing between takes. You can even see it in the "There is nothing like a dame" sequence, where some shots look bright and sunny while others are darker and overcast. Then came the tsunami warning. On March 9, 1957, a massive tidal wave struck Kauai's north shore. Homes were destroyed. The Kalahiwai Bridge collapsed, cutting off access to key filming locations. Trucks carrying equipment got stranded, and production had to shut down completely. Even before the tsunami, getting equipment to the island had been a struggle. In 1957, flights to Kauai were rare. Many cast and crew members had to wait in Honolulu for days before they could even reach the set. Despite everything, the filmmakers refused to give up. When the weather made outdoor shots impossible, they used matte paintings and process shots to fill in the gaps. The delays cost 20th Century Fox thousands of dollars, but the result was worth it. The film's breathtaking visuals put Kauai on the map as a prime filming location. Years later, movies like Jurassic Park and Pirates of the Caribbean would follow in its footsteps. But the production faced more than just natural disasters. One of its most controversial choices was the use of color filters during musical sequences. Director Joshua Logan wanted to recreate the stage production's dramatic lighting, so cinematographer Leon Shamroy placed bold color filters directly onto the camera lens. During Balihai, a deep magenta filter made the scene feel almost dreamlike. Other numbers, like Some Enchanted Evening, were bathed in golden or slate-green hues to heighten the romance. Audiences were divided. Rodgers and Hammerstein disliked the effect, saying it distracted from the music. Some viewers found it overwhelming, even mistaking it for a technical glitch in theaters. The filters also made some scenes look murky instead of magical. Logan defended his decision, saying the filters helped mask cloudy skies and kept the visuals consistent. Whether it was a bold artistic choice or an unnecessary distraction is still debated today. But love it or hate it, the film wouldn't be the same without it. For Mitzi Gaynor, South Pacific brought an entirely different challenge. She was known for her dancing in musicals like There's No Business Like Show Business, but this role didn't give her much room to show off her skills. Playing Nellie Forbush meant more singing and acting, with only a few dance sequences. The film's choreography focused on group numbers instead of solos, which frustrated her at times. Even simple movements became difficult. Shooting on Kauai's beaches, especially Lumahai Beach, meant dealing with uneven sand and scattered rocks. Dancing on that terrain was nearly impossible. Still, Gaynor's energy carried through. Audiences loved her performance, and she later said that while she missed dancing more, she was grateful for the chance to showcase her voice. Her most famous scene, "I'm gonna wash that man right out of my hair," almost didn't happen. The number was filmed at Lumahigh Beach, where she had to sing and dance under a shower of water. But the shampoo they used burned her eyes so badly that production had to stop. A crew member rushed to Lihue, driving 2 hours round trip to buy Johnson & Johnson's baby shampoo. That quick fix saved the scene. The water itself was another issue. Despite the tropical setting, it was cold. Gaynor had to endure freezing showers over multiple takes while still looking cheerful on camera. Timing was also tricky. She had to match her movements perfectly to the music while making sure her hair lathered properly in every shot. Even Oscar Hammerstein II had doubts about whether the scene would work on film. He worried that a woman washing her hair wasn't visually interesting enough. But Gaynor's infectious energy proved him wrong. The number became one of the most iconic moments in musical film history. Off-screen, Gaynor had a natural chemistry with her co-star Rossano Brazzi. Their romance in the film felt authentic, and part of that came from their playful friendship on set. Brazzi, who played Emile de Bec, spoke limited English at the time, and his singing voice was dubbed by opera singer Giorgio Tozzi. He had been hesitant to take the role because of this, but his suave screen presence made him the perfect fit. Gaynor often teased him about his thick Italian accent, while he joked about her boundless energy. Their friendship made long days on set more enjoyable, and their connection translated beautifully on screen. Even though audiences later learned that Brazzi wasn't the one singing Some Enchanted Evening, it didn't matter. The scene remains one of the most romantic moments in musical film history. Mitzi Gaynor thought South Pacific would change everything. The 1958 film was a huge success, earning over $36 million worldwide. She was nominated for a Golden Globe and was the only lead actor in the film to sing her own songs. Instead of opening doors, South Pacific became one of her last major films. After the movie's release, she starred in only 3 more films, none of them musicals. Happy Anniversary in 1959, Surprise Package in 1960, and For Love or Money in 1963. Looking back, she admitted she was better suited for live performances than the big screen. Hollywood might not have given her the roles she wanted, but she wasn't about to disappear. Instead, she found a new stage. Television in the 1960s was booming, and variety shows were everywhere. Gaynor became a regular, bringing her mix of singing, dancing, and comedy to millions of homes. She was a true entertainer, and audiences loved her. One of her biggest moments came on February 16, 1964. That night, she headlined The Ed Sullivan Show during the Beatles' second U.S. appearance. More than 70 million people were watching, but it was Gaynor who had top billing. She performed Too Darn Hot, The More I See You, and a medley of Birth of the Blues and When the Saints Go Marching In. Even with Beatlemania sweeping the country, she held the stage. Backstage, she saw firsthand how quickly the industry was shifting. The Beatles were young, fresh, and changing everything. Her own choreographer even mistook Paul McCartney for one of the children on stage because of his boyish face. But Gaynor wasn't intimidated. She adapted. She started hosting her own television specials, mixing music, dance, and humor in a way that felt new and exciting. These shows became hugely popular, earning Emmy nominations and proving she could thrive in any format. Then, she took things even further. By the late 1960s, she had become one of Las Vegas's top entertainers. Her nightclub act was unlike anything else. She performed at the Flamingo and the Riviera, making $45,000 a week. That was an unheard-of amount, but Gaynor delivered a show worth every penny. Her performances were dazzling. She worked with legendary designer Bob Mackie, who created stunning costumes that became part of her signature style. Critics called her shows flawless and devastating. Life magazine put it best. She had started at the top and climbed even higher. In 1970, she made history. She became the first woman to win the Las Vegas Governor's Trophy for Star Entertainer of the Year. She had conquered film, television, and now the biggest live stage in America. While Hollywood had moved on from musicals, Gaynor had found new ways to shine. Mitzi Gaynor lit up television in the 1960s and 70s with a series of spectacular specials that turned her into a household name. Over 9 shows, she earned 16 Emmy nominations, proving she was more than just a movie star. She could sing, dance, and entertain like no one else. 2 of these specials stood out as cultural landmarks. Mitzi, a tribute to the American housewife in 1974, was a playful take on domestic life, mixing humor with elaborate musical numbers. Mitzi, What's Hot and What's Not. In 1978, took a fun look at changing trends through music and dance. A huge part of her success came from her partnership with Bob Mackie, a designer who knew how to make a performer shine. Mackie, often called the Sultan of Sequins, created costumes that were as breathtaking as the performances themselves. Their collaboration started in 1966, when he designed her Las Vegas stage show. From that moment on, he became an essential part of her image, crafting hundreds of stunning outfits over the years. His costumes were bold, colorful, and covered in intricate beadwork and sequins that sparkled under the stage lights. Every outfit was designed to move with her, making her dance numbers even more mesmerizing. His work on Mitzi, Roarin' in the 20s in 1976, won him an Emmy. A year later, he created some of his most eye-catching designs for Mitzi, Zings into Spring. Together, they redefined costume design for television, proving that fashion wasn't just about looking good. It could be a part of the performance itself. Even with all her success on television, Gaynor never lost her love for live theater. In 1989, she stepped back onto the stage for a national tour of Anything Goes, playing the lead role of Reno Sweeney. She was almost 60, but her energy never wavered. Some people wondered if she could still handle the demands of a big musical, but she didn't just handle it. She owned it. The tour opened at the Orange County Performing Arts Center on September 12, 1989, before traveling across North America to cities like Seattle, Toronto, and Nashville. The show proved she still had the same star power that made her famous in the first place. Every night, audiences rose to their feet, cheering as she delivered show-stopping performances. This wasn't just a return to the stage. It was a reminder that real talent never fades. One of the most emotional moments of her later career came in 2009 when she returned to Kauai to celebrate the 50th anniversary of South Pacific. She hadn't been back since filming wrapped in 1958, and the visit brought back a flood of memories. The island had been more than just a filming location. It had become a part of her story. Kauai's lush landscapes had set the scene for some of the film's most iconic moments. Lumahai Beach was where she sang I'm Gonna Wash, That Man Right Out of My Hair, and Mount Makana stood in for the mystical Bali High. Filming had its challenges. Unpredictable weather caused delays, and at one point, a tidal wave forced the crew to shut down production. But despite the obstacles, the island's beauty made the film unforgettable. During her visit, she attended events at the Kauai Marriott Resort, where she shared personal stories about filming and reflected on what the movie had meant to her. At first, she wasn't sure she wanted to go back. She worried the memories would be too overwhelming. But once she arrived, she felt nothing but gratitude. The island looked much the same, and fans welcomed her with open arms. Mitzi Gaynor married Jack Bean on November 18, 1954, in San Francisco. At the time, she was moving away from her contract with 20th Century Fox, where she had been a rising star in musicals like There's No Business Like Show Business. Hollywood was changing, and so was she. Just as she was figuring out her next steps, Bean made a bold decision of his own. He left his high-profile job at MCA to start his own firm, Bean and Rose Public Relations. His first and most important client was his new wife. From the very beginning, Bean saw something in Gaynor that Hollywood hadn't fully embraced. She was more than just a film star. She had the kind of energy and stage presence that could captivate a live audience. He helped her shift from movies to live performances and television specials. By 1956, she had signed a new contract with Paramount Pictures, landing roles in Anything Goes and The Joker is Wild. But film was only part of the plan. With Bean managing her career, she began touring with musical revues that became huge hits in Las Vegas, Canada, and Australia. Unlike many Hollywood couples of their time, they didn't chase red carpets or big social events. They preferred a quieter life. In 1960, they bought a home in Beverly Hills, turning it into a retreat where they hosted close friends instead of Hollywood power players. Their marriage lasted more than 5 decades, built on love, trust, and a rare balance between their personal and professional lives. They never had children, something that set them apart from many of their peers. But it was never a point of regret. Gaynor later said their relationship was built on deep understanding and constant support. "He was my champion," she once said, and he truly was. Bean had left behind a promising career at MCA to manage hers, believing in her talent so completely that he made it his life's work. Thanks to his vision, Gaynor's career thrived long after Hollywood's golden age. Her musical revues became major events, drawing audiences year after year. Many of them were even turned into TV specials in the late 60s and early 70s, proving she could command a stage and a national television audience.